Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Bad Paramahansa Parivrikaracharya Ashtotar Tat Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. And Jai Mr. Bad Paramahansa Parivrikaracharya Ashtotar Tat Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiyat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta Prayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 10th day of March 2019 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in Canto 4, the creation of the fourth order, chapter 11. Swayambhuva Manu advises Dhruva Maharaj to stop fighting. Text number 2. Sandiyamana etasmin Maya guhyaka nirmitaha Chipram vineshu vidura Klesha gyano daye yata Sandiyamana etasmin Maya guyaka nirmitaha Chipram vineshu vidura Klesha gyano dayeyata Sandiyamana etasmin Maya guhyaka nirmitaha Chipram vineshu vidura Klesha gyano dayeyata Sandiyamana etasmin Maya guhyaka nirmitaha Chipram vineshu vidura Klesha gyano dayeyata Sandiyamana etasmin Maya guhyaka nirmitaha Chipram vineshu vidura Klesha gyano dayeyata Sandiyamana etasmin Kamaya guhyaka nirmitaha Chipram vineshu vidura Klesha gyano dayeyata Sandiyamane. While joining to his bow, etasmin, this Narayanastra, Maya, the illusions, Guhyaka nirmitaha, created by the yakshas, Chipram, very soon, Vineshuhu, were destroyed, and Vidura, all Vidura, Kleshaha, illusory pains and pleasures, Jnana udaye, upon the arising of knowledge, Yata, just as. Translation. As soon as Dhruva Maharaj joined the Narayanastra arrow to his bow, the illusion created by the yakshas was immediately vanquished, just as all material pains and pleasures are vanquished when one becomes fully cognizant of the self. Purport. Krishna is like the sun, and Maya, or the illusory energy of Krishna, is like darkness. Darkness means absence of light. Similarly, Maya means absence of Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness and Maya are always there, side by side. As soon as there is awakening of Krishna consciousness, all the illusory pains and pleasures of material existence are vanquished. Mayam etang tadanti te. Constant chanting of the Maha Mantra will keep us always aloof from the illusory energy of Maya. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Midatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So simply, Dhruva Maharaj just placing the arrow on his bow was sufficient to dissipate the illusions created by the yakshas. And Prabhupada draws this analogy. He's quoting a verse here. Krishna Surya Sama Maya Hoy Andakar Yahan Krishna Taha Nahi Maya Adhikar, which is the motto for the Bhakti Guided magazine. It appears on the front cover. Krishna is the sun, and Maya is deep darkness. Wherever there is Krishna, there cannot be any Maya. What is it? Krishna is brilliant sunlight, Maya is deep darkness, and nescience. Wherever there is Krishna consciousness, there can't be any nescience. So darkness is equated with ignorance, and it's just like light and shadow. Shadow is not something substantial; it's the absence of light. But if you're always in shadow, you grow up in shadow, and you don't know anything but shadow or darkness, then that's what you think is normal. The analogy of Plato's cave is very cogent. That was a magazine article, BTG magazine article, way back in the 60s. And it's a really good analogy. I think Socrates is the one who spoke this to Plato. And that is that visualize or imagine a cave in which babies are brought up in this cave. They don't know anything else. And all they know is they're chained to a wall or something. And all that they see is the flickering shadows projected against a wall with the fire behind them. And that's what they think is reality. Clearly a very crippled view of reality, but that's all they know. But one guy breaks out, somehow climbs out of the cave, and then the bright sunlight isn't much, it takes him a while to adjust to it, and then he sees the variety that's out there. All of the details, there's a lake in the distance, and the trees and everything that we know is reality. So it's astounding, it's like a revelation. So after some time, taking it all in, he goes back in the cave, and he starts telling the guys who were still chained there, looking at those shadows, about all of this reality. But they refuse to believe it. It's just a myth. All we know is this cave. You must be taking LSD or something. We don't believe it. And I forget what the end of it is. So it's just like that. With the reality of the spiritual world and the material world. So you have this spiritual world where there are countless living beings. They're in the forms of human beings and animals and everything, but they're fully conscious. And there's the Vaikuntha planets. There's a hierarchy of planets, and the highest planet is Goloka Vrindavan. And there they have everything there. They get up in the morning. They have activities. They have so many relationships with Krishna, but also with each other through Krishna. And things are going on there eternally. And then you have the shadow world, where it's described like that. A small corner of the spiritual world is covered by the Mahatattva, which is the beginning of how the material world comes to be. And eventually it develops into everything that we see, all these material universes. But the main feature of it is that Krishna is not there, is that illusion reigns and darkness reigns. But those who all they know is that, they think this is reality, and the spiritual world and the kingdom of God, this is all a myth. And so we're in Plato's cave. We need to break out. And the means for breaking out is the process of Krishna consciousness. And the great acharyas like Srila Prabhupada, they're the persons who have come into the cave and are trying to enlighten us and get us, break the chains of illusion. So that's reality. So here, the context is that Dhruva was momentarily paralyzed by all these illusions sent by the yakshas, the falling of the trunks and bodily trunks and the stool and the yule and the pus and everything. You can imagine how disconcerting that would be. But it's not real. It's an illusion. But still, it acts as if it were real on those who are prone to it. So here, Krishna is like the sun, Maya is like darkness. So darkness is the absence of light. Similarly, Maya means the absence of Krishna consciousness. So when Krishna consciousness is absent, as it is in this dark material world, in so many places, mostly it's absent, people are going from one illusion to another. This is the thing. I remember in my own life being trained as a communist, believe it or not, and my father would read for me Das Kapital every night, in English. So I looked at the world around me as a place that needed a revolution, and I became what I thought was a radical. There were these radicals of the 60s. Radical means you get to the root of the problem. It's not just the Republicans and Democrats and change, but you got to get to the root. You have to upend the whole system. And in socialism, communism is the ideal, and it's dictatorship of the proletariat. But that was just one illusion in place of another, and we've seen, over the years in the places where communism was tried, it doesn't work. It doesn't create a workers' paradise. You just get a different group of people who are exploiting other people. Because the main problem is in the heart, is in the consciousness of the people. If the lust and the greed and the anger are just under different names or banners, and you still have people exploiting others and hating others and all of these things that go on, then you're going to have misery. You can't have a permanent situation of happiness in this material world because of birth, old age, disease, and death. And so the real radical, I've actually become a radical. We're total radicals. Krishna is the root of the entire universe, right? He's the sarva karana karanam, is this the saying? That's the root. He's the cause of all causes. And so when you actually become Krishna conscious and you understand the philosophy of Krishna consciousness as spoken by Krishna and his representatives, then you see that this is really the solution to all the problems, both personal and emotional and social and every other, economic and everything else, because it changes the heart. And instead of people having this false ego and the coin of the realm being how can I become most powerful and exploit others, and at the same time convince them that I'm doing benefit for them, that whole demonic mentality is just thrown out. And when you have the leaders who are actually knowledgeable of this philosophy and organize society according to the principles of self-realization, God-realization, the Vedas, then you have an ideal situation. And we've had that on earth at times. That's spoken of in the Bhagavatam. When Yudhishthira was king, when Parikshit was king, when Prithu was king, and others who actually had, of course, Lord Ram, the Ram Raja is famous. But it can only be temporary, still, because this whole world is temporary. So, Srila Prabhupada, in all of his purports, he's fixed in the right perspective, which is that success or failure is measured according to how it's furthering your mission of life to really achieve the goal of life. Otherwise, the whole thing is just one distraction after another. It's one illusion after another. Instead of having these obvious illusions from the yakshas, we embrace some other illusion. Just like there's a grand illusion in this world that we can keep expanding and expanding all of this materialistic, commercialistic activity and not have some horrific reaction. But clearly the earth is overburdened by this. We've built it up in the last couple of 100 years, and now the way in which society is organized and economics are organized are creating a habitat that's inhospitable to human life, or any life practically. So it's just macro and micro. On an individual level, people are thinking out, how can I just eke out my, control my environment and somehow live nicely, have a wife and kids, a normal life. Then there's, of course, a lot of people who don't have normal lives, but it's still on the basis of self-centered egoism and what's in it for me, or my clan, or my family, whatever like that. It's all completely illusory. But you embrace that illusion, and you have to suffer the results of it. Going back to our famous verse, 5 times in the Bhagavatam it appears. Arte vidyamane pi sangsati nanavartate dhyayato vishayanasya swapne nartagamo yata. Arte in this context means in truth, actually. Avidyamane pi means unreal. What is unreal? It's not that the material world is unreal. It's that all of our ideas and our conceptions built around the false ego and Maya are unreal. That's what's unreal. So Samsutir means the sufferings that come from absorption in matter and forgetting Krishna. Birth, death, old age, and disease, etc. All of that is ultimately illusory because it's transient. It's transient. So, but dhyayato vishayan, for those who are meditating, absorbed in the object of the senses and in sense gratification, those sufferings do not cease, just as the sufferings in a nightmare don't cease until you wake up. That's what the verse means. So we go life after life after life in this illusory consciousness. But as soon as the Krishna sun rises in your heart, As soon as you come in touch with Krishna and begin chanting Hare Krishna, then things begin to have their true perspective. And you can see what's actually important in life, and also Maya reduces her grip on you. This, I like quoting this Sadhu Sangashtika. Within that, those 8 verses of Kapila Dev, he talks about how Krishna consciousness relieves the pain of being in this material world. Because his mother approached him, Devahuti approached him with that lament. Said, "Oh, my senses are giving me so much trouble, I'm in so much illusion, you're the only one who can save me," basically. She was already a sadhu herself, but she took that role so that there could be the dialogue, just as Arjun took the role. So he addressed this point right at the beginning of the instructions, and he says, what do the sadhus do? What do the saintly devotees do? Manashriya katam rishta shunvanti katayanti cha. Is that they're always hearing and chanting the delightful, all attractive vibrations about me. Manashriya means those, ashriya means a shelter. So those vibrations which had taken shelter of me, in other words, would deal with my pastimes and instructions, etc. Katam rishta. Rishta means very attractive, very sweet. Shunbandi katayanti. They're always hearing and chanting. And because their minds are absorbed in hearing and chanting about me, therefore the miseries of this world don't affect them as much. They're not aware of them. They don't, first of all, they don't do things to increase the miseries. You know, they're always telling you, well, one thing you can do to really, avoid high blood pressure and obesity and diabetes and every other nightmare disease is don't smoke, and don't drink, or drink very little, very moderately, like that, So that means that people are doing that. They're destroying themselves for some illusory pleasure, So don't do that. But we say, more radically, don't do anything for sense gratification. Don't get into these hellish sense gratifications. Don't eat meat. They'll never tell you that. I mean, they will, moderated this and that. But to tell you how radically horrible it is for you, not just on the physical level. What about the karmic level? What about But the point is that there's all of these things that normal, quote, normal people do that are increasing our disease, material disease. So you come to Krishna consciousness, even if you're not full time, and you clean up your life, you act morally, you're not indifferent to the lives of others, especially cows, but also anyone else, And that, first of all, it creates much more of a peaceful state of mind in yourself, and your physical health, mental health, spiritual health, emotional health is improved. Just on that level is improved. What to speak of, you're actually on your way back to Godhead for your eternal cure. So you can imagine, just a society. When you go to Mayapur, if you go during the big festival or any of the big festivals, and you see actually thousands of devotees, chanting Hare Krishna, you get the beginning of what it could be like to have a world, even this world, where the vast majority are devotees in the festival. It just creates such a different atmosphere socially as well. With the people, you see all these different people of different nationalities, and you realize that what's really important is your kinship as spirit souls. The outer, covering, whether it's Chinese or Russian or American, whatever it is just superficial. So that's the real United Nations. That's how peace can reign. So it all depends on the Krishna sun. Now the light implies knowledge also. Light is knowledge, and darkness is ignorance. That's a very important analogy. So where there is Krishna means that where there is knowledge of Krishna. Yesterday I was listening to a lecture of Prabhupada, as I do every day. And I love to hear the lectures on the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. They were even collected into the Yoga System tapes, and they made a book out of it. Path of Perfection or something like that. And there's one passage in the 6th chapter, 6:20 to 24, where Krishna is describing the actual state of samadhi. And there it says, oh God, I forget the Sanskrit, that in that state you enjoy with transcendental senses, but the mention is buddhi grayam. Buddhi is the intelligence. In other words, boundless happiness, boundless bliss is called, And let me look it up, and I'll give you the exact quote, because all of this is there in Krishna consciousness that we practice, even though we don't follow the Ashtanga yoga system. There's no benefits of Ashtanga yoga. That in the stage of perfection called trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self, capital S self, Krishna in the heart, by the pure mind, and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Now, it's not emphasized in the translation, but sukham atyantikam. Atyantikam means the supreme happiness. Buddhi grayam. Buddhi grayam. Buddhi is intelligence, accessible by this transcendental intelligence. And so why I bring this up is because so much of our experience of Krishna consciousness depends on the depth of our absorption and awareness. Just like I always like to emphasize and request that we have this whole morning program, culminating in the class and then the prasadam. But there's so much Sanskrit and Bengali, going by all the time. But to really get the full experience of what's happening, you need to know what the words mean. And that means even rudimentary, and this may cause tremors in your heart, grammar. Oh my God, Sanskrit grammar. But it's not so complicated because it's defined. Sangsara dava nalalidha loka tranaya. Now these are foreign words to all of us. But if after 30,000 Mangalartiks or whatever it is, you can easily find out what those particular words mean and how they fit together into this whole concept. Because Sanskrit is like a perfect language. That's the very word Sanskritam means perfectly created, and you can string together words in a huge compound to add meaning. You find this especially like in the 5th canto, where there's no restriction of the size of the verse, because there's a lot of prose, long words, like 12 words together. So you start at the end and you put it all together. But once you understand the meaning, I'm not going to become a Sanskritist this life, and probably neither you are. But those things which we chant every day, the morning program, we should know and get absorbed in. So samsara dava nalalidha loka tranaya. That's the compound word. That goes over to the next line. So samsara is birth and death. Dava, anala, means a forest fire. So it's like a forest fire. This world is compared often to an ocean, to a forest fire, because they're places of great danger and suffering. So sangsara davanana lidha loka. So that forest fire in which all the people of the world, loka, are suffering, lidha, tranaya. The spiritual master is coming and describes he's like a cloud pouring down mercy, so extinguishing the forest fire. Meaning that, through the holy name and the prasadam, the gifts, the association, we can douse that fire. We can escape from the fire. So how merciful, how thankful we should be. That's a central principle of devotional life. Sri Guru Chadanarate Eseyu Tamagati, that's another song we sing, again appreciating the Guru. And attraction for the lotus feet of the Guru is the best means of advancement. Now what does that mean? Because if you appreciate, you're thankful, and you absorb the knowledge, you're more likely to follow the orders when you realize, this person has saved me, has affection for me, like that. It's all personal. So if you understand the meaning of the words, plus all of these other verses that we sing, you pick out different ones. That's, if you really get absorbed and your intelligence is engaged, buddhi grayam, that's where you can feel the greatest bliss and happiness in Krishna consciousness. And it begins, and this isn't emphasized enough, with hearing the holy name with great absorption. That's the key. Hearing the sound of the holy name, which is non-different from Krishna, which is Krishna, is complete manifestation of Krishna, which is inconceivable. But just see what that means. Here we have Dhruva. You remember what happened with Dhruva when he got direct darshan of Vishnu. How he was already absorbed in meditating his heart, but when he actually saw him directly, it was like even a much more intense, beautiful experience. So, with our Kali Yuga senses and body, how are we going to see God? We're so fallen and covered. But he makes himself available through the holy name and through other means like the deity, so that we can actually experience. But when you approach these facilities with knowledge and awareness and full focus, that's when you really experience Krishna's presence there. So it's right there. In other words, it's in our own hands. We have the opportunity to experience Krishna, and along with that experience, the dawning of the light, kind of in your heart, and Maya's reduction of her influence on us. That's mentioned again and again in the Shastra. Kapila Dev also says that Maya loses her grip on you; she relaxes her grip. And you can first experience it in a very simple way: more and more attraction to Krishna, and less attraction to illusory and pleasures of this world. This vairagya manifests. So now Prabhupada makes a very interesting point here. Chipram Veneshwa Vidura Klesha Jnanodayayata. So it says Klesha Jnana Udaye, upon arousing of knowledge, then the destruction of these illusory pains and pleasures. Now the Klesha means suffering. But here Prabhupada says, both in the word by words and in the verse itself, all the material planes and pleasures are vanquished. So those pleasures, material pleasures, are actually the sources of the pain. Those are our greatest. Prabhupada says the pleasure you enjoy in the senses and sense gratification is your worst enemy, because it gives you the illusion that you could be happy in that way, when actually that's the insurance that you're going to suffer like anything. So when you can withdraw, when you're not pushed practically as Arjun says against your will practically to perform sinful activities, material activities, when you can say no, you have the spiritual strength to say no. That's a big point of advancement. Then you can really open up, and Krishna blesses you with more and more pleasure on the spiritual side. Like these verses we chant all the time. Kunti's prayers. It's so nice to hear. Prabhupada actually recorded the Kunti's prayers in Sanskrit. It's a rare recording if you're interested in it. But you can just hear how he's experiencing them at such a high level. He loved these prayers from Kunti in the 8th chapter, first canto. And her last prayer, Shri Krishna Krishna Saka Vrishya Shabhava Nidrug Rajan Debangsa Dahanana Pavarga Virya. All these ideas, Shri Krishna Krishna Saka. What does that mean? Shri Krishna Krishna Saka. She's addressing Krishna in names. So the first one is Shri Krishna, that's obvious. But how is Krishna Saka? How is he the friend of Krishna? Do you remember, Damodar? How is Krishna the friend of Krishna? Krishna Saka. Because Arjuna is such an intimate friend that he's sometimes also called Krishna. So it's Krishna and the friend of Arjuna, whose name is also Krishna. So it's a play on words. Shri Krishna, Krishna Saka, Vrishni, Vrishabhavani, Drug, Vrishni, Vrishabha, the best of the Vrishnis. So you don't have to be a Sanskritist to be able to hear this amazing poetry. Shri Krishna, Krishna Saka, Vrishabhavani, Drug. You're the destroyer of all the sinful armies in the world. Your strength is never diminished. Abhavarga Virya. Govinda Godvija Surarti Haravatara. So this is very encouraging. You're the avatar that takes away all the sufferings of Govinda, Govinda, Godvija, of the cows, of the Brahmins, of your devotees. So Krishna is diminishing suffering. Govinda Godvija Sura, demigods or devotees. Haravatara Yogeshwara Kila. You are the master, the greatest master of all masters of yoga. Agilo Guru, and the guru of everyone, Bhagavan, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Namaste. She enters with her obeisances. Begins the whole prayers with the obeisances, Namaste, and she ends with obeisances. So You know, you go chant it a couple of times, you get into the meditation, you get into the experience. There's Kunti, you know, full of emotion. Krishna's about to leave for Dwarka, and he brought her and her exalted sons through so many difficulties, and now she's in his final moment, you know, and she's complaining that he's leaving. Don't leave, you know. He doesn't leave right away. I think he stays a couple more months. But you know, every one of these verses in Bhagavatam is full of Krishna's consciousness. And they completely take our mind away from this world and fill it with knowledge that, you know, we can use to understand our place in the world and understand how we can go back to God. So that's how Krishna is like the sun. He is not different from Bhagavatam. He wrote the Bhagavatam in the form of Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva is also an incarnation of Krishna. He appears in the Bhagavatam in so many incarnations, and also as Krishna himself speaking his Gita, his Uddhava Gita, which is like an expanded Bhagavad Gita. So in every way, he's making an effort to enlighten us, to have that sun of Krishna rise in our heart. So we should take advantage of it. And just as Dhruva, even before he shot the arrow, you know, diminish the illusion. So even before we become completely pure in Krishna consciousness, the knowledge that we gain from trying to be Krishna conscious in the context of this wonderful society, the illusion of Maya will dissipate, and we can see things as they are. All right, so I wanted to leave a little time for Purushottam Das Thakur, but if there's any discussion, we can have a few minutes. And then Purushottam, it's a small biography that we have. Any comments, questions? Here. Damodar, set them up there. Oh, you. Yes, Glenn.
The analogy of the people living in the cave and then someone trying to reach out to them.
Yes.
It reminds me of the story of Dr. Frog's philosophy.
Uh-huh. Yes, the same thing. Yeah, the cave. It's the same idea of being in an environment that it's all you know, and therefore you see everything through the lens of your own ignorance, and you insist that this is reality. And someone who's you know got a completely different perspective, seeing reality as it is, oftentimes can't break through. You know how hard it is, you know, to convince people that you're not the body. You know, that's the first thing. So it's exactly the same. Thank you. All right. Somehow this is not working. You don't have your iPad. Well, I need the little biography of Purushottam Das Thakur, but this thing has decided not to work out for me now. Yeah, I'm not set up to get that right now. Unless you can. But this is a rebooting in a few minutes. You got it? See if you can bring it up on your phone. All right. I'll put this on pause. Yeah, I should have done this earlier. Oh, you got it? Well, that's easy. Thank you. Well, this is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. All right. Well, let me try this first again. Now it's just come up. It worked. All right. I think I'll read them both because this is very small. Purushottam Das Thakur constantly meditated on and served the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. Kanu Thakur, his son, was such an exalted devotee that Lord Krishna always lived in his body. When Kanu was 5, Mother Janava took him to Vrindavan. The Goswamis joyously greeted him upon seeing his genuine devotion. Okay, so that was his son. In Goloka Vrindavan, Purushottam Das Thakur served Lord Balaram as a cowherd boy. Dvadasha Gopa, one of the 12 Gopals, so he's one of the intimate associates of Nityananda. All right, the 23rd and 24th prominent devotees of Nityananda Prabhu were Sadashiva Kabiraj and his son, Purushottam Das, who was the 10th Gopal. Since from birth, Purushottam Das was merged in the service of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, and he was always engaged in childish play with Lord Krishna. Purushottam Das Thakur had 3 main disciples: Sri Madhavacharya, not to be distinguished from Madhvacharya, Madhavacharya, Sri Yadavacharya, and Devakinandan, who were born in Kulina Brahmin families. And so now, Madhavacharya married Nityananda Prabhu's daughter, Ganga Devi. Devakinandana was the author of the book Vaishnav Vandane, and Purushottam Thakur's Shripad was previously at Sukha Sagar. I'm not what Shripad means. Is that not the Samadhi? Now his deities are at Chandriya Gram. Okay. He was a coward boy named Stoka Krishna in Krishna Lila. Okay, we got more here. And this is part of the CC or what? No, this is a site. Oh, okay. Maybe you give me that app. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Sri Purushottam Das Thakur.